Okay, greetings, Maples Game Nation. I feel as though we can't be together right now, and usually we do something when a new set is released. So I figured, a lot of the stores are not able to run events, so they have offered the Ikoria play at home sort of experience. So I picked up a pre-release pack, and this is the contents of this are going to be given away as a prize to somebody. There's going to be some details released later about that. So this is going to be the process for those of you who've never been to a pre-release. This will also go through all of the steps about how you would prepare a deck for a pre-release. So when you show up to a pre-release, you usually get a kit like this. So this is gonna open this up. So what you get in here is very commonly a spin down 20-sided die, so you can keep track of your life total. There's going to be a bunch of booster packs and a promo card, which you can see here. So what you do is you're going to open all of this stuff up, and then you're going to build a deck with whatever cards you get out of it. So I'm going to go through the process here. So I can't wait. So this is the foil stamp, so you can see that there's a little stamp here that says what the date is. So Crystalline Giant, it's a 3/3 for 3. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose a kind of counter at random that Crystalline Giant doesn't have on it among flying, first strike, death touch, hexproof, lifelink, menace, reach, trample, vigilance, and +1/+1, and you put a counter of that kind on it. So this is a new thing in this set. They have counters for various keyword abilities. So either way, 3 mana for a 3/3, and it's colorless. I think I'm going to be putting this in whatever deck I build. So I'm just going to open this up, and then we'll put this to the side. Now, I haven't really read the spoiler for this set, which is usually a bad way to set you up for a pre-release. So usually, if you can read the cards ahead of time, then you kind of know what you're headed in for. So I've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 booster packs here, which I'm going to be opening up, and they usually have some other things that go with it. So because this is one of the themes of the set, those counters, they actually give you a card with all of them on there. So flying, indestructible, death touch, and so on, and they're double-sided for this. There's a Magic Arena promo code, which I'll set aside, and usually a little thing about different mechanics from the set. So this one has information on mutating creatures. So in this set, and I'll show you some examples of this, you can mash creatures together into one mega creature. So the way it works is if cards have mutate, you can cast them on to another existing creature. So this is an example of one here, which has the power and toughness of the card that's on top. So the power and toughness is 6/6, and it has the abilities of all the cards that have been mutated together. So in this case, it's got lifelink, flying, and trample. So you kind of put those together, and it doesn't matter which one you can put the card that you're entering the battlefield on top or on the bottom. So in this case, there's an example. You could make it a 2/4 or a 3/3, depending on whether you need something more defensive or offensive. And then there's some usually some information on building a pre-release deck, because this is a lot of people's first opportunity to go to an actual tournament. It tells you usually what kinds of things that you're going to be needing in your deck. So it suggests 15 to 18 creatures, 5 to 8 other spells. It's got a little chart here which says at different mana costs how many cards you're probably going to want, and then about 17 land for a balanced deck. And then it says that when in doubt, ask for advice. Usually pre-releases are pretty friendly environment for asking information. For the pre-release at home, I know everybody here is friendly, so it's not a problem. So what we want to do is start opening the packs. And there is sometimes when you go to a sealed tournament, there's a time limit. So usually you don't want to be reading through all of your cards until you got them sorted. Sometimes you actually have to write down what all your cards are before you get going. So let's see what we've got. So what you want to do typically is organize things into their individual color. So step one, when you're opening sealed deck, as I'm going to separate things into white, blue, black, red, or green, and I'll be pausing on the rare cards so we can take a look at some of the more infrequent cards that you would be getting in this. So I'm just going to separate things out. So white, blue, black, red, green. Artifacts I'll set aside. This set has a whole bunch of multicolor cards, so I'm going to put those in a pile by themselves and then use those to sort of fill in the deck later. There's some cards with some pretty cool artwork on this too. So this is fancy Parcel Beast with kind of a comic book style art, which is new for this. So that's a multicolor card. And land and tokens I'll just kind of set aside. So the rare card from this pack is Frond Land Felidar. So it's Vigilance, and creatures you control with Vigilance have 1 and tap target creature. So if I get a lot of cards with Vigilance, this is pretty good. Actually, it's pretty good on its own. So we'll open up the second pack, see what we've got. All right, so separating colors. What is this? This is a colorless creature, but it's not an artifact, but I'm gonna slide it in with my artifacts here. I've got a regular artwork Parcel Beast. Green. Okay. Oh, and this is a phenomenal card. This is a brand new series of Cycle of Lands. So you can tap it for 1 of 3 mana colors because it is a plains, swamp, and forest. So you'll notice that that is in parentheses because the basic rule is that a plains, swamp, or forest can be tapped for any one of those 3. So it enters the battlefield tapped, but you can also cycle it, which means pay 3, discard the card, and then you can draw another card to replace it. So that's great. I like mana fixing, and got a foil at the back, and oh, also another dual land. So that'll help me with my mana. So this is looking all right so far. Another cool artwork card. There we go. And okay, now we've got a really fancy Triome card. So it's another one of those lands that we can tap for any one of 3 colors of mana, red, white, or black, and we can cycle it, but it has this, you know, even borderless artwork on it, which is really cool. Okay. Okay, this looks like it's a good pack. We've got a mythic rare, which matches the 3 colors of the one land with cycling. So this one has mutate. So what I can do is I can just play it as a creature. It's a 5/5 for the casting cost here, or I can play it with its mutate ability. So 4 mana, that second one is a hybrid, so I can pay green or white for it and 2 black. So it's got Death Touch and Lifelink, and whenever this creature mutates, return any number of target creature cards with total power 10 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Pooey. So that's a decent one. And I also have a foil mythic. So Winota, Joiner of Forces. So whenever a non-human creature you control attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may put a human creature card from among them onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. It gains indestructible until the end of turn. Put the rest of the cards on the bottom of your library in a random order. So that's pretty cool. There's a lot of non-humans. It's sort of like things are either human or non-human in this set, it seems, which makes a lot of sense because those are the only 2 choices. So there's some good commentary in this video. Okay, separating the colors still. Okay, we've got a Hunted Nightmare. A lot of nightmares in the set. It's an infrequently used creature type. So this is a 4/5 for 3 with Menace. And when Hunted Nightmare enters the battlefield, target opponent puts a death touch counter on a creature they control. So 4/5 with Menace for 3 is bonkers, but your opponent does get to put a death touch counter on one of their creatures. So, you know, one assumes that if you attack with this, they can block with the death touch and hopefully kill it. But this thing seems really good. And the last pack. Oh, so some of the packs looks like it comes packaged with some of those double-sided ability counters, which is kind of cool. Okay, another legendary creature, Yidaro Wandering Monster. So it's a dinosaur turtle. It's got trample and haste. It's an 8/8 for 7, which is pretty good. Cycling for 1 and a red, so that's where you discard it and draw a card. And when you cycle it, you shuffle it in your library from your graveyard. And if you've cycled a card named Yidaro Wandering Monster 4 or more times this game, you put it on the battlefield from your graveyard instead. So it's kind of a way to cheat it into play. Kind of like this thing. I really like cycling as an ability. And we've got another foil. Okay, so I've got everything organized here. What I think I'm going to need to do is probably take a little break here and actually read what the cards say, and then I'll be a little bit better prepared to show you how I'm going to assemble a deck to play in this event.